Hello there, I'm Anna Amelia from North East Animal Rights, and we're delighted to welcome along Sean Barr, who is a campaigner from Animal Justice Project, for our latest Saturday Spotlight interview. So welcome along, Sean, and thank you very much for agreeing to do this for us.
No problem, Anna. Thank you for having me on for this.
You're very, very welcome. So the question which I ask most people when we do these interviews is, can you tell us about your vegan journey, please?
So yeah, I've been vegan for 15 years now, and like most people, I went vegetarian first. So I had like a gradual process where I then got rid of eggs out of my diet, and then eventually dairy. But I've always been an animal lover, but it took me a long time to really understand what that term actually means. But in terms of what actually got me towards veganism was growing up, my family, we used to always visit this place in Norfolk called Snettishung Farm Park. So it's essentially like a working farm that has a herd of deer, and a part of the visit there is like you go on this little sort of bus train ride kind of thing to go and see the deer close up. And I loved doing it at the time, but even at the young age of like 6 or 7, I was really shocked. Like when we went like into the shop in the farm to see that they were like selling meat from the deer, and that kind of really sort of helped me connect the dots between, this cute animal and the meat itself. So that really sort of planted an early seed, and then at the same time at the farm there, that they had this shed of cows, and they'd like been recently separated from their mothers, which I kind of learnt that in retrospect, but I just remember going into the shed and there was all these very young calves, and they were all sort of really happy to see me, and they sort of come up and they were friendly, and some of them suckled on my fingers, and I just remember just having this sort of feeling of sadness when I was there and not really understanding why, because I was really young, but it just didn't feel right, and this really stuck with me like at a young age, and it was always in my head growing up, and eventually it kind of pushed me towards going vegetarian and then eventually vegan as I really started to understand and read more about it. There was a really good book called The Vegan Source Book as well, which I read when I was quite young, and that really sort of helped me connect the dots and push me over to veganism.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, and myself included, I went vegetarian first because you kind of think that you're making enough of a difference then. And it was, and I saw some footage, some dairy footage, and I realised just all of a sudden I had this eureka moment, and I thought, my God, I can't believe I've just been absolutely oblivious to this. But it's like you said, I mean, these poor little calves coming up suckling, like suckling your fingers because the basically should be suckling from the mothers. It's just so sad.
That's exactly that. And I think for a lot of people, it just takes time because, like, we don't always like to say planting seeds, but it's kind of like these things, they do stick with you. And as you grow older, you come to understand them and you learn more about the industry and the reality. You understand what it actually was.
Yeah. So how did you decide that you wanted to be an activist rather than a vegan? And what was your first piece of activism?
So the first thing I did, I was involved with vegan runners.
Oh yeah, yeah,
So I'd started running for fitness and stuff like that, and then I learnt about the running club. So I joined. I went and did a half marathon, wore the vegan runner vest, and
yeah,
I got some positive shouts. I got some negative shouts like "Oh, go get your bacon," or some rubbish like that. And I don't know, I had such a positive feeling like finishing a race with the word vegan on
yeah,
your vest. It sort of says, I can live my compassionate lifestyle where I don't harm any animals, but I can also, I can be fit as well. And it was such a positive way of putting the message out there. And then um, a few years later, after I'd been kind of running for a few years, I went to the National Animal Rights March.
mhm,
So that was in 2019, and I just heard all the talks. I felt all the positive energy, and a talk by Ethan Ed was really kind of, it drove it home. It was said how every single individual needs to be more active, and
yeah,
I was running, and that's kind of what I was doing at that point. But I just thought I need to do more. I've got to kind of put everything else on hold and put my energy into this. So I started doing outreach. I joined my local groups. I got really involved. I did,
mhm,
all sorts of bits and bobs, and just really pushed forward with that from there.
yeah. I think, I mean, the vegan runners is a really good way of promoting how healthy we are as vegans, or how healthy we can be. I mean, we have the Great North Run up here, And I mean, I used to do the Great North Run years ago, but I'm just too
Yeah.
lazy now. I can't be bothered. I can't be asked to do it now. But I do have, I do take a great pleasure in seeing the vegan runners go by, and I'll always shout "vegan runners" and then give them a good clap, and it's just great to see them. I mean, I did when I was doing the Great North Run. I mean, Kerry, who was our local person up here, she did suggest running with a t-shirt with a vest on, but I was like, I'm so slow. I don't want people to I don't want to be that bad example of a vegan runner. But it is a really, really good way of just keeping the message out there.
I think I think for me as a vegan runner, I think it shouldn't matter if anyone's fast or slow.
Mm.
It just shows that we're normal,
Yeah,
real people. We don't always need to be the one who's at the front of the race. It just
yeah,
shows that we're just like everyone else, and
yeah,
we can.
yeah,
I think that's what's good about vegan runners because it's so inclusive. It's not just like you've got to win. It's like let's all come together. Let's
yeah,
we're all
yeah,
real people,
yeah.
and it shows to other non-vegans that we're just like them.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you mentioned Norm, the National Animal Rights March, and how amazing it is. I mean, we absolutely love it. It's just great to be surrounded by all these amazing people, and also hear the talks as well.
Yeah.
So how did you? I know kind of like the like National Animal Rights March and how you became to work for Animal Justice Project is linked. But could you maybe talk to us about that?
So at the time, because I gave a talk at the march in 2023, I was volunteering on part of the organizer team. So I was helping do their social media. I was helping promote it online and stuff like that. And I was involved in like the organizing side. And so at the time, I was asked to do a talk for them, and I agreed to it. And it was just great to be able to give a talk to such a large amount of people and try and like rile people up like I had been, like how motivated I was. So I really tried to do that. And I got everybody up on their feet and got them like shouting and talking, and I did some of the chants as well because I really wanted people to kind of come away and feel uplifted.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, and I saw Animal Justice Project at the march that year, but I didn't actually speak to any of them just because obviously there was a lot of people there and stuff like that. But I think it definitely helped when it came to like applying for the
yeah,
job at Animal Justice Project because they'd heard me talk and
yeah,
just kind of like a pre-interview thing, if you know what I mean. If
yeah.
you'd kind of seen someone give a talk.
Yeah. So, what is it about Animal Justice Project's message that particularly resonates with you?
So I really like the rights not welfare wear
Yeah,
signs. So I saw them there with them, and
yeah,
I just think that's such a loud statement, really, because just to keep our messaging and our focus on abolitionism and a rights-based approach, and not to lose it, and to also stay that quite loudly because there are some organisations that do veer off into the welfareism,
yeah,
sometimes intentionally, sometimes not, but it's just making that statement to others to
yeah.
keep the activism on that.
One of our activists, Taylor, he actually he was given a sign by Aidan down last year's march with Rights Not Welfare. So he's got his profile picture of him actually holding one of your posters. Yeah, it's a very, very good, simple message, Rights Not Welfare. So
Yeah.
are there any particular campaigns that you're especially proud of? Or do you feel maybe not so much proud of, but do you think they've been particularly effective?
See, last year we did an open rescue for the first time. So this was part of the Foul Truth campaign. So we'd kind of launched this whole idea of cage free isn't cruelty free, and it was just showing the public that free range egg farming is just essentially a massive big lie. It's all welfare washed, it's greenwashed in all their marketing. But we kind of wanted to show the public that directly rather than just saying, here's what we've investigated, but we kind of wanted to parcel it up in a different way.
Yeah,
So we did an open rescue. We went into an RSPCA shored farm. We left with 3 hens, and we at the same time another team took 3 hens from like colony cages,
mm,
and we took all the hens to a sanctuary. So we compared the free range ones with the colony cages ones. We made a video about it, like got
yeah,
lots of photos comparing like their overall health and how similar it was, like they were identical.
yeah,
So yeah, we made this video, and then we also did outreach from it.
mm,
Like we had the imagery on a sign, so we went into Cambridge and
mm,
we asked people like, can you see the difference between these two hens? We didn't tell them what it was until afterwards, and
Mm.
the response was like, no, we can't. They look exactly the same. And so we were like, so would you be surprised to learn that that one's free range, that one's not? And they're like, what? So I was quite proud of that part of the campaign, just how we'd sort of creatively got that message across, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you. I think of all the campaigns we support, I think that was a very effective one because we used the footage you sent through as part of our 3-minute video challenge.
Yeah,
And people, and obviously, what we do is we give them goodie bags for sitting watching the video footage, and then we ask them a list of questions afterwards. And one of the questions was, which one of these was free range and which one of these was caged farm,
yeah,
caged hen, and nobody could. They all said there's no difference. They're both the same, So it was kind of like hammering that in, that the fact that these animals, it's just marketing myths, it's just marketing nonsense, which people, I used to believe it when I was younger,
yeah,
but I thought it was very, very effective. I think my particular areas are like dairy and eggs, so that the egg one kind of resonated with me particularly as well.
yeah. And I think it's just getting people to to debunk these welfare images they've got in their head because they just think that
Yeah,
that is what they've got this image of a free range farm of a hen
yeah,
running around on this grassy field, and it's just they've only got that because of the
yeah,
advertising and the marketing that the industry puts out. So
yeah,
we kind of really wanted to flip that on the head, and we produced graphics as well around it, so we'd have like the expectation versus the reality, and
yeah,
it was just
yeah.
like this is what it actually is like.
Yeah. And of course, we both know that they all end up in exactly the same slaughterhouse floor. So
Exactly.
there's no difference in the deaths, with the deaths, the killings. So that's something which we always hammer home as well. We say,
Yeah.
regardless of what you think is happening in their life, they all end up being killed in exactly the same way.
Yeah, and it's just trying to get that message across to people, isn't it? Because we've all
Mm.
had those outreach conversations when people are like, "Oh, I only buy eggs from happy hens." It's
Mm.
like, so what
Yeah.
are happy hens?
Yeah.
You know,
I buy from my local farmer. Yeah, yeah, okay.
mm.
So I know you're as well as doing all this work, Fan, just this project as well. You're doing a PhD, and your PhD is looking at arguments for animal rights within like a romantic literary period. So could you tell me how your academic background has helped in your role as a campaigner as well?
So yeah, so I'm looking at these arguments within like the 19th century, so looking at fiction, poetry, essays, and just to go back to like getting into activism as well, that was the decision to do a PhD on that was driven by the activism as well. I wanted
Yeah,
to kind of think how can I use this in an academic space and also almost in an indirect way, like talk about veganism in my PhD
yeah,
that's going to be read by non-vegan academics. Um, but in terms of that informing my job, I think it's just the kind of the critical thinking skills, the analytical
mm,
skills, the research skills,
mm,
just those all sort of cross over into the role, and having an awareness of animal rights theory as well
mm,
has been really helpful, and just
yeah.
being able to draw on those experiences.
Yeah, I mean, we often get told, we often get asked to say, where's your evidence, where's the facts, so it's really, really good to have stuff like this, like papers coming out, reports, studies coming out, PhD studies particularly, because obviously the gravitas which is given
Yeah,
to that sort of level of academia. But to kind of like say this is the evidence, this is what this is, and like you said, this is going to be reviewed by probably mostly non-vegans.
yeah.
So it is good. It's like a subliminal message, but also it's a good way to say it's an independent research project as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm also really interested in like the history of the vegan lifestyle and sort
Mm.
of where it's come from, because it sort of says that although our advocacy movement can sometimes feel big and new,
Yeah,
it's not new. These arguments have been
yeah,
going on for a long time. It's not
yeah,
just a modern thing.
yeah,
It's something that
yeah,
we've known for a while. So
yeah.
it's
Kim Stallwood, who I interviewed a long time ago,
yeah,
he curated a really good exhibition in London in the British Library
yeah,
about the history of animal rights, and it was just amazing to see all these really old documents from like the 1700s, people talking about what essentially is animal rights. So you're right, it has been going on for a long, long time, and considerably harder for those people then. I mean, attitudes have changed. I mean, we still see horrors going on now, but it has changed in terms of what we're able to do as activists as well.
Yeah, yeah. There's
Yeah,
just so much of it, so many historical examples, and
yeah.
I mean they did it, so people today have got no
Yeah,
excuse.
it's exactly, exactly. It's so much easier now. The whole, all of the aspects of it is so much easier. Are there any particular areas of animal rights that you find frustrating, though, in terms of getting the message across? Maybe it's harder because, people, for example, I'm going to use fish as an example.
Yeah,
People sort of, people don't give fish the due respect or within, if we do a fish outreach, it tends to be more difficult than an animal which they can relate to. So are there any areas which you find frustrating?
I mean, I just to concur with what you said about fish as well.
Yeah.
Like that can be difficult because it is harder for people to relate to fish because they're very very different to us. But also animal rights in a general sense, like
Mm,
in terms of like in the past when we've kind of written like a PR, press release about
mm,
an event we've done or an investigation release, and we would parcel that up and give it to a journalist.
mm,
Sometimes they would when they come to like actually publish it, it would then sound a bit too welfare so it wouldn't be animal rights anymore. They would refer to us as an animal welfare organization. I think outside of our animal rights sort of vegan activist bubble, I think a lot of people see animal welfare and animal rights as the exact same thing,
mm.
and they use the words interchangeably
Yeah,
and they don't see the difference. So I think sometimes just get an animal rights message can be difficult for
yeah.
people to understand.
Yeah, I mean, I share that frustration, and also, the interchangeable use of plant-based and vegan as well. I
Yeah,
mean, that drives me mad. Kind of like people saying the vegan and actually they're not. They're just. I mean, that I'm saying they're just not. I mean, that's a big thing in itself, but they
yeah,
are only following the diet aspect of it. You're talking about there about the open rescue and everything, and obviously that must have its toll on you. Your mental health and your well-being. And some of the footage. I mean, I know I was talking to Aiton as well about some of the stuff that you see in the investigations. So how do you manage your well-being?
I think for me it's just knowing the results. I mean, it is very difficult to look through the footage. It is hard. There's a lot of content, and like in terms of like if we release an investigation video, that would be like 5 to 6 minutes long,
Mm,
but the amount of content we've actually got
mm,
could be hundreds of hours.
yeah,
So we've had to sift through all of that to find the strongest and to show the worst cases, and it does have a toll, but it's knowing how many people that's going to reach when it gets in national media or online. It's knowing that, yes, I might feel sad whilst I watch it, but it's just knowing that the changes that can come off that. And
yeah,
again, with like the same with the open rescue, it was like that was the first time like, I personally had been on a farm or inside like a shed like that, and it was the thing I wasn't prepared for was actually the smell.
mm,
Like
mm,
I mean, I knew it would smell bad, but I wasn't prepared that it would be that bad. And it was eye-wateringly bad. It was,
mm,
um, but just being there and seeing that level of just suffering and discomfort the animals had, it's just
yeah,
knowing that exposing that can create change, and
mm,
rescuing the individual three that we did as well,
yeah,
like seeing them afterwards at a sanctuary,
yeah.
like weeks later, and seeing how they recovered and were starting to live a normal life.
Yeah, we rescued some hens, some caged hens probably about 10 years ago now, and they were no, it's probably about 15 years ago actually, and it was amazing to see that the condition they were in when we got them was horrendous. I mean, just as you described, like they were
Yeah,
obviously the smell is from the ammonia and the urine and everything, and
yeah.
they were covered in urine burns and like ulcers and all sorts of things. But to see them flourish and to have their own individual personalities was just incredible. Just absolutely, the chickens have got to be my favorite animals. I absolutely love them. They're just so unique and quirky and funny, and But yeah,
I
it's
know they're adorable, aren't they?
yeah, yeah. So what's next for you then? What's next for you as a person and as for Animal Justice Project?
So, in terms of Animal Justice Project, in March we're releasing two new campaigns, two very big campaigns. I won't say too much what they're on, but they're going to work together. These two campaigns, like um, yeah, one's about exposure, one's about creating change, and I think yeah, I'm very excited about these two campaigns. I
Yeah.
think they're going to be really, really big this year.
Yeah,
Um,
brilliant. Well, I'm hoping that we'll watch out for them, because and keep in touch as well, because we do try to support your events, and we would love to have an event up in Newcastle, where you cover, and also on Teesside, where we have a new branch down there as well, because we love the work, the work that you do, and also how you get the message across as well. It very much fits in how we want to do things. So I'll watch out for that coming through. But
yeah,
in the meantime, we're running out of time now, so we're gonna close now, if that's all right. So thank you very much, Sean. I really, really appreciate you talking to us today.
thank you
So
for having me on.
you're very, very welcome. So this is Anna Amelia from Northeast Animal Rights signing off now, saying thank you for watching, and thank you also to Sean for giving up his time today.
Thank you.